Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. It is another epi of League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys as we're hanging out in the Mushroom World today to really test out how the scouring all of the galactic realms to find the best teams in the world for League of Legends. And little did we know, it was in the LCK all along with the 2-0 KT roster versus Nongshim. That's right, the top of the LCK table. We had your Hanwha's Gen G's T1 matching up, but today were the real bangers.
If you had told me that today was going to be the bangers of the week in the LCK, I would have told you you're from outer space. No way that you're coming through and saying that these games were going to hit the way that they did, but sure enough, even right out of the gates, KRX versus Bro delivers us a banger, and KT takes care of business. A clean and cool day in the LCK, but there absolutely was excitement within these games.
And it was absolute messiness in the first game between KT and Nongshim. This was so incredibly back and forth, gold leads swinging on single team fights. There were like a couple aces that got Nongshim back into the game, but then they make the classic egregious error of starting a Baron, getting it below 5k, and then having your jungler leave the pit entirely.
Bad feels, and certainly one of those ones where it goes, yeah, maybe you can understand a situation, a numbers game, if you will, of saying, all right, we should have this thing locked down. We can send, members elsewhere type of thing. The jungler is the one member that you do not send elsewhere whatsoever in that type of situation. A crucial mistake, and it does set up, though, some amazing plays from the side of KRX and what we get to see.
Yeah, listen, Aiming had a rough time for, 30 minutes of this game. He finally comes online to close things out, but it was absolutely Cuz doing a lot of the heavy lifting for this KT squad. And then in the second game, it's just BDD on Ahri. We know how that thing plays out. Aiming gets demoted to Ziggs duty for that one. But we're always talking about, yes, Cuz and BDD have to carry this squad. But early on in this second split, they're getting support. Perfect has had a fantastic start to the year, and listen, the only change this KT squad made from the LCK Cup to now is effort coming in. And it's amazing that this is the same squad, because the LCK Cup, we were saying, well, 2025 was fun for KT, but they've come back to earth and we've kind of forgotten about them. But effort comes in, and all of a sudden, this squad's 3-0.
They look very much so more like the form that we saw from them being able to go on the run to the World Championship, much less like the form that we saw in that LCK Cup, as you described. I think one of the biggest things that effort has brought to this team has been some of that playmaking creativity, some of the things that you always talked about with them during the times on T1 and what was capable and what type of X factor you can bring to the table. He's bringing it for this KT squad right now. Now, we got to be careful, though, because as, anyone will know with KT, anything that goes up must come down.
We're not excited. Let everyone know. We're not excited. None.
Not excited for sure, and certainly not excited about a matchup against the Bros coming up on the schedule. And I tell you, if there was ever one for a resurgent, a KT that is looking dominant to drop, a lot of people would say it would be that Bro matchup, but we're not excited, so I don't think that we're on the downward trend just yet.
I will say I'm excited, not for KT as a whole, but just for effort to being featured and talked about like this, because this guy has been on a journey since he was on T1. He's been on Live Sandbox, Nongshim Red Force. He's been on those very Bros who went through like 3 name changes while he was there, and then spent all of last split on the challenger scene for KT, and they said, well, both of our supports are not giving it, so gave him the promotion, and now here he is thriving in this role, although again, very early on in this split for KT.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where the way we're talking about it, it's so easy to just kind of flip that switch back and go, yeah, well, he's the guy who was on T1. Of course this is what you're going to be getting. Like, why are you surprised? Why? It's because it has been that long. It has been that journey, as you described, where it really has been up and downs, and a lot more downs than there have been ups for a guy like Effort. So to find some success at this point, to grind through it, to improve and find success at this point with a KT roster that needed someone to be that difference maker, something that made the change for the team. Very excited about it for Effort.
They were still SK Telecom for his first 2 years with the squad. That's how far back you got to go for him.
That's pulling it way too far back for something like that, but very much so. Excited about the success that he is having for KT. And again, it's not just him, though, that is doing it, right? That is certainly, kind of the X factor that you point to, or the significant change for sure. But the level up, the competency, the consistency out of every single member and what they're contributing in lane, out of lane, all of that has seen a drastic improvement from that LCK Cup. And again, much more so like the form that we saw from this KT, where they proved they were a world's finalist.
Now, normally, Bro versus Kiwoon Dragon X, it wouldn't even be making the lineup for us to talk about. So from the get-go, something spicy happened. And really, this whole series was spicy and a classic Fries group kind of gameplay as we anticipate. Probably both these guys going to Rise Group next year. But started off with an absolutely, Bro has such a massive lead in game one. Looks like it's done and dusted. They bake a little bit of a throw. And then we need an absolutely immaculate 2v5 out of Gideon and Teddy. And he's got the nickname Fountain Laser for a reason, because you watch this Ezreal gameplay, my man does not miss a single skill shot this entire fight.
This is scary because we've seen already some pretty darn dastardly and crazy Ezreals out there in the LCK, from the likes of Ruler. Diable has been fantastic on it. Here comes another one. Oh boy, and it is the old man Teddy at this point busting it out. And yes, the Fountain Laser, I don't think he misses a single shot. He doesn't miss a single thing, doesn't miss a single click. It is all on target, every single thing landing. The damage is nuts. This is a difference-making type of performance, which makes what happens next in this series so unfortunate.
Yeah, and there's, a lot of things you could be referencing where things go awry for this series, but you have this play and you're going, okay, look at the Bros. They get a 9K gold lead in game two. You're saying quick 2-0. Now they're sitting at 2-1. Maybe they're dark horse potential, but that 9K gold lead gets thrown to the wayside as KRX somehow find their way back into game two to steal a victory, and then Teddy's shot at redemption comes up short on the Yunara in game three as he proceeds to flash into four members and kind of solidify somehow a series loss for the Bros.
Oh no, this one hurts because this is that bad mojo that everybody has been out there, where you have an amazing game. I don't care what genre you're playing, whatever it is, real life, digital, whatever. You're on top of it. You're ready. You're good. And then you go, let me queue up again. What's another one? Come on, I'm feeling good. And then the losses start to hit, and the bad performances and the throws, and it all comes downhill, and you go, wait, why didn't I just call it the night on that one great, amazing game? That's how it feels about this one. Of course, the LCK, you can't just stop after game one, so you had to keep going. And you get to game three, and you get to that throw moment where, yes, it is almost entirely on Teddy at that point, but still, it's one of those ones where to get to that point, you can't throw it all on that one guy. It's a tough bounce, but it also is another one for the Mel haters to jump up and add to their reservoir of bad examples from her.
Yeah, even though she has a bad win rate a lot of the time, still an absolutely insane champion, and I stand by the most toxic champion to match up against on an ARAM, hands down, no question.
Oh, ARAM for sure. I mean, Summoner's Rift even. I'll throw it into that type of execution on some of the stuff we're seeing. But yeah, ARAM, no question. That one would be it for us when we're playing. But right now, LCK, UCal piloting it to a great degree and getting that win when everything seemed like it was never going to point to a win. But we'll quickly shout out that second game, one of those ones where Bro gets that huge advantage. And then it just was one small mistake here, one small mistake there that just kept opening the door a little bit further and allowing it to be a little bit easier to slam on through for the squad like KRX and take the series.
I will say this is one of the wildest starts to the LCK. The combination of KT being 3-0, T1, we don't know what's going on. Genji's lost game, BNK is winless, and all of a sudden you're talking about Bro and Nongshim as contenders. Like the whole standings are just absolute insanity right now.
It is the best case of it is so early in the LCK season that is where you are. You don't have enough ground to be solid about teams that you should be able to be solid in your anticipation about and whatnot. But then as well, you just need more games from teams that you have had some good signs of, but you do know that there are doubts, and so you need that reassurance. So yes, it's one of those ones where I think another, kind of getting through this week, maybe getting through next week is going to give you that real solid ground to make some more assumptions about the LCK.
The LPL could not be more different because it's gone pretty much as advertised, as you'd expect. Maybe the one thing is Weibo Gaming haven't really reached fraud status yet because they haven't shown anything good for you to think that they might actually good. They've just been bad so far, and BLG is continuing their sleepwalk through the regular season.
Yeah, this one, it was nothing to check in on, and unfortunately, it's as you said, checking the fraud watch in the situation where it's mostly just been, again, one of these ones where you take maybe a little of the positive of last split, or try to find some silver lining things, and then what we have had this split, and it is absolutely not going in that type of direction so far. And on the other side, BLG has very much so continued their form out of first stand and are looking for someone to step up and push them, to truly challenge them and make it an interesting and exciting match where they have to be fully locked in. Because I can tell you, looking at the player cams, watching the match, didn't seem like they were all that focused in on this one, and unfortunately wasn't required of them from their opponent.
If I'm BLG, if I'm some of the coaching staff, I need some extra motivation in the regular season. I'm saying, let's make some highlight reel plays, guys. Whoever gets more views online for the craziest play maybe gets a little bonus or gets to pick where they go for dinner or something. We need extra incentives.
If I'm the BLG coaching staff, I'm still trying to find a way throughout all of this to get Viper going, to ignite the engine for the Viper machine in the bottom lane. That's got to be one of the big ones that I am looking at so far. And it's kind of tough because, again, you maybe need some of these marquee top-level matches where you are, again, testing steel against steel type of thing to become a sharper sword. That's what you maybe need, and you're not getting that so far in some of these early matches for you right now in the LCK.
Yeah,
LPL, excuse me.
It's still winning despite Viper not being Viper has been the theme for BLG, and it's still one of the more perplexing mysteries to me early on here in 2026. We look ahead to weekend action in the LEC and LCS, and really in Europe on the schedule. There's just one must-see event over the weekend, and that is the Throwdown Showdown. That is G2 versus Team Vitality, who we've already talked about. Are these guys legit the best team in the LEC right now? Obviously, a win against G2 would go a long way in kind of ensuring that right now. And a matchup of Knock Knocko versus Broken Blade is sure to be an absolute treat, especially. I know we had the nice Shen play out of Broken Blade, but laning phase wise, BB has not been so great 5 games in, and Knock Knocko has been getting pretty much a solo kill at least every single game.
It's a strange position for G2 and for someone like Broken Blade, but I am intimidated about that next matchup, about Knock Knocko and what he is bringing to the table and the form that he has been in and what has been relied upon by the Vitality squad from him compared to what we have seen from Broken Blade, since that first stand iteration. So yes, that is an easy area to identify some advantages for the side, and it's one of those ones where you have to be able to step up, right? You got to be able to lock in on the day and take on your opponent. I think that's going to be the big one I'm looking at. For a lot of people, this is really going to be that verification. Are you for real, right? We have seen this run look good to start out early, but can you really take it to someone like G2, the owner, the champion of this region, the one that took down Gen G at first stand? You got your opportunity to make an impressive win early in the split right here.
And what they have going for them is, Knock Knocko is kind of earning this EU Bin nickname, and all you need to whisper is the name Bin around G2, and everybody clenches and starts sweating immediately. And he's gotten that nickname because two of his most lethal picks have been Renekton and Jax, and yeah, Bin has done some damage on those.
I'm gonna be a little bit more reserved in it so far. I'm gonna keep that to a higher level at this point, but it absolutely is that type of player, that type of play style that he brings to Summoner's Rift that can again be so explosive for your squad, and one of these ones that even a team as competent, as consistent as G2 can be at their very best can dismantle them from the very beginning. And so that is one of the exciting things looking at that individual matchup for this one.
And I think another thing to note in this series, as much flack and memery as Humanoid has gotten over the last couple of years, since he joined the league, I don't think there's been a guy who's been as close or pushed caps as much individually as Humanoid has over these years.
And frankly, I think, again, it's one of those ones where maybe it's a little bit tainted out of some real bad memories of how things played out between Fnatic and G2. But for the most part, Humanoid is usually right there. He's usually pretty locked in, pretty consistent in the matches against Caps, and is someone that is one of these factors that can have a playing hand within bigger team fights, crucial moments later within it. So yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on the mid lane matchup for sure as well, but I still think the king matchup in this one is that top side matchup.
I'm just hoping for a Vitality win, not because I'm low-key rooting for the vibes of this team, but I just want to see the overreactions of a 1-2 start for G2 and a repeat of what we got last split.
And I can tell you, I think there would be some degree of legitimacy to that concern at that point if that does come through. But it still would be one of those ones where, again, you tap the sign, you point back to it, and you go, G2 in 7th at playoffs last split. You're not sounding the alarm bells here, even if it seems like it from the outside looking in.
Although 7th place now doesn't make you into playoffs. So 7th would actually be a panic this split for G2.
I'm not taking that asterisk on that one. I still think in any of those situations, you're being pretty calm about things with G2.
Week 2 action in the LCS. There's, maybe not the marquee matchup of a Vitality versus G2, but still some interesting ones to kind of see what's the next man up type of approach, because Cloud9 and Lion Gaming seem to both have easier matchups in, Dig for sure for Lion. Look away from that matchup. It's going to be painful. And Sentinels versus Cloud9, I feel like we know what those levels are at. But I'm looking at Shopify versus Team Liquid as a compelling one. And you might say, Shopify? That winless squad from Split 1? Well, they are 100% win rate in Split 2 and had some absolutely insane... They had a 5.2K goal differential at 15 minutes on average in their 2 wins. But Dignitas looked pretty horrible in that first series.
I'm going to say, yeah, the problem is there that it's Dignitas on the other side, so you're not getting any of those points. And I will also mention that Dignitas Leon series, yeah, definitely look away, because I promise you, a guy like Inspired is looking to make a statement. He always is one of these ones where, sometimes players really look for that head-to-head rivalry or, who's that guy's above us. Sometimes players really, really like to stomp on the team and the players that are just beneath them, that are not at that type of level. I think Inspired is one of those dudes that is going to take some pleasure in that type of stomping for Leon. But when you talk about Shopify Rebellion and you look at what is going to be there for them, this split was the one I think a lot of people were hoping for, because you could really find various excuses, real reasons, whatever, to flush away what happened last split and refocus for this one and come out of the gates with a strong start. And you more than did that against Dignitas. Now is kind of your first meatier opponent that you really get that opportunity against, so excited to see this one.
Yeah, and listen, you've got now a full off season, no visa issues for Zynie to kind of get comfortable in playing in another country, playing an entirely new organization. You don't have that excuses to use anymore, and the reason they might be more competitive than you think, and it's hard to gauge, is, Team Liquid struggled at times against FlyQuest, especially the bot lane got kind of bodied in most of the games that series, did Jan and Core JJ, and of course the rumors now are swirling again that Team Liquid are the scrim gods. Spawn saying, I've never won so many scrims with the team before, and that is usually a red flag to hear.
That is one of the worst things you could hear. And I understand that. What do you mean that's one of the worst things? They're winning. That's good. It's bad because any time that has ever been said, it either is one of these ones where then the performance individually within the players, within the team, drops off of a cliff for some type of reason, complacency, all sorts of things, or it's you've just painted a bigger, even redder target on your back for everybody else to say, "Oh, you think you're the gods in practice? Let's show you what really matters. It's game day, and we're gonna take you down and level up." And that is absolutely something you can envision happening to this Team Liquid squad, and a Team Liquid squad that didn't really need any extra pressure on them at this point or any other reason to find motivation to kick it up a gear and become one of the top teams within the LCS. It's a good matchup here again, proving of a squad that is looking to rise up, a Team Liquid that is looking to assert themselves in the situation at the top of the LCS here.
Other fun matchup for me is the FlyQuest versus DSG. We just mentioned the FlyQuest bot lane, but not only is this which of these squads is ready to step into that next tier of LCS squad and compete, but it's a highlight of all the young talent coming through the pipeline that has been promoted. We're talking Sajed, Kryra, obviously Masu, and Cryogen, and even Griffin. Look at all this young talent that's actually good. Invest in it, LCS, please.
This kind of feels like those games you get sometimes in traditional sports where it's teams that have been outside the playoff picture, right? But they have been getting high draft picks. They've been getting really good prospects that are exciting young potential stars in the making. And they're starting to figure it out, starting to build some momentum for themselves. And you get this head-to-head, and you get to see, all right, who's getting out of the basement? Who's starting to climb up into the real playoff picture, into being a real competitive squad, and starting to become not just a young star, a young superstar within that league? I think this is one of those early matches that you can kind of circle for the LCS at the very least. And that's an exciting thing heading into this matchup.
And I think having that youth makes, and just what these organizations are, there's a lot of people rooting. There's a fan base for both of these squads to see them succeed. So excited for that matchup, maybe even more so than the TL SR1 over the weekend. But that is it today for Liga Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, absolute stunners. Thanks for hanging out with us. As always, we'll catch you on that flippity flip.